Yeah, I know that, mold, years ago, there was an old saying, mold gold, where it was actually, I think it was a counter on purpose. It was like a propagandist campaign to say that mold really doesn't cause people's problems. They're just trying to find mold so they can charge a lot of people for remediation. And then insurance companies, of course, quit carrying mold policies on homes. And that was after a major lawsuit in Dallas, Melinda Boward's case. Um, but to me, it's been a deterrent from that point on. It's been a deterrent for anybody to even open the field to have a conversation. I mean, I've seen well over 1,000 cases of mold toxicity where people either had to get out of their homes or have their homes remediated in order to restore their health. And it's really, to me, it's just kind of sad that at this day and age, we need more research, but we certainly have enough to start this conversation that this can be problematic. And too often, mainstream is just dismissing it all out.
Well, I think, to your point, I think I've read somewhere maybe that Shoemaker, who we'd have to say is the founding father of mold mycotoxicity and the damaging effects of mold, that he's estimated that upwards of 50% of houses have water damage. At this point, Dr. Peter, I'm going to say every house has water damage, certainly until proven otherwise. And it's just to what level, just the way that the houses are constructed, how that affects the individual, who knows, symptoms or not, how many people are walking around, oh, that guy ate super healthy, he exercised, he was out in the sun, he took his supplements, and then he dropped dead. And I think, again, we look at the really the whole umbrella of toxins, but I think mold and bacteria are at the top of it. And then if you'd say from a financial standpoint and an insurance standpoint, if we say that the majority of houses are water damaged, who's going to pay for that? If you look at Hurricane, Katrina, where literally every house in the state of Louisiana has water damage, from Hurricane Katrina or not. All the houses, everything in Florida, or just, the HVAC systems, just the humidity, let alone a leaky toilet, shower, sink, dishwasher, laundry machine, spills under a carpet, cars. How many cars are water damaged from spills that happen, and there are issues with the HVAC system of a car, the humidity of a car. It just, the gravitas of this is so huge. And what we offer really is the ability to get people to understand, hey, this is definitively your problem. The solution to it can be very difficult. Not everybody's going to pick up and move into a vinyl tent like my wife and I have with our 4 children. But we are very determined never to live in anything with water damage again. That's why we spend so much time outside. But it's not easy, but it's an answer. It's an answer.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, which I think would struggle with that concept of just like picking up and moving, even just moving out of their house, even if it's into another house. I'm sure you've seen it, but I've seen cases where, it's like out of the fire or out of the pot into the fire where they move from one home to another really quickly. They didn't do the diligence on, did that new home they were moving into have mold? Or they assumed that because the house was new, that there wasn't enough time. Because that's another assumption that people make, is that the house has to be old and has had to have a history of water damage for mold to proliferate. But it only takes 48 hours for the stuff to start growing. And a lot of people don't realize new construction is not all that great. We use cheap labor and cheap materials, and corners are cut. And oftentimes that's what leads to very quickly to mold growth. In my case, we had mold, in our brand new home. Within 2 years of being there, when we tapped the wall cavity and measured spore counts, we were in some cases over 1 million spore counts. But in most cases, the wall cavities were 50,000 plus in almost every wall cavity of the house. So the house was just generating mold or just feeding mold because it was improperly constructed from the get-go. And so moisture it couldn't control the moisture. And the moisture, it wasn't a running leak that led, in my case, it was just a moisture problem because of improper construction.
Yeah, I think that people, fail to realize that, for sure, in the sense that if you look at a new home, how it's constructed, obviously the vast, vast, vast majority of homes are made out of wood. They're made out of popsicle sticks. Those popsicle sticks, they arrive already moldy because of the way the popsicle sticks are made. Then they sit and they're put up in under construction. And what happens, whether you're in Houston, you're in Chicago, you're in New York, or you're in San Francisco, it rains on your home. The wood is water damaged again. And then you put it up into the drywall, you seal it in, you just create the perfect conditions for excess humidity in there. And now you've just got this total infestation of mold and bacteria into the home. And if someone has an old home, for 100% it has mold, no doubt. If someone has a brand new home, just to your point of like, it's certainly, very, we lived in Arizona, quote unquote, dry climate. But undoubtedly, the entire fabric of that home, Colorado, where we live, dry climate, just the entire fabric. I would sit there on my couch in Colorado and I would look at the neighbor's house under construction, and it would snow and then it would melt and then it would snow and then it would melt all over this guy's wood. California, notorious for that. The high humidity there on all those beach houses, California. Um, you think about what happens with the California Palisades fire, and now you aerosolized all those homes, and now you put that into the atmosphere. You put it, down if you're living downstream from that. So not only did you burn up someone's mold box, but then all the plastics and phthalates and parabens and all the other contaminants of the home, and you're breathing that in this cloud of poison downstream from that. It's just horrific. One more thing I want to add on that too, and I know you talk about this, is that all of your belongings are contaminated. So all of your clothing, your high school yearbook, your wedding dress, whatever you're saying, it's all contaminated. It's all contaminated. And the best thing I think you can do is take all that stuff put it into storage, and maybe you'll come back sometime in the future to take a look at it if you need to. But all that stuff's contaminated. If you bring that into a new home, you are bringing in the old contaminants into the new. So even a lot of people say, yeah, I don't feel well in the new home. Yeah, certainly the new home can be contaminated, but you brought your stuff with it. Even people who move into, an RV, if you take your old clothing, your old belongings into the brand new RV, you're just going to cross-contaminate it, which just really highlights how difficult of a situation we're dealing with. And Peter, I talk to heart attack people, stroke people all day long. And you can imagine that you tell people, hey, you got to eat this way, you got to go to sleep, you got to get sunshine, you got to get out of all these toxins, you got to take all these expensive tests, take all these expensive supplements. And they're like, forget it. I'm just going to take a Lipitor, I'm just going to take my blood pressure drugs. I'm going to listen to the conventional doc. The problem is when you listen to the conventional docs, you're going to die. It's not either or. You're going to die their way. The average American average American male life expectancy is age 76. And the last 15 years plus of that are just in horrific health. Arthritic complaints, inflammatory issues, doctor visits, pharmacy visits. It's just monumentally catastrophic. It goes back to the Bible, where Moses talks about this 3,500 years ago in the book of Leviticus, what to do if your home has water damage. And what Moses says, if you can't fix it, you got to tear the whole place down. And they knew that 3,500 years ago, and people don't get it today.
Yeah, I found that it's interesting. A lot of times when you just look to the Bible, you could see that somebody has written about, the answer already, and it's very clear about mold. Every stone, every timber must be taken down and taken to the outside of town, right, away and buried in an unclean place. And that, a lot of people are just trying to hold on to it, understandably so. I think most people, their number one investment is their home, right? If you think about, and so like financially it becomes a tremendous burden. In your experience helping people navigate mold, I'm sure you come across people where like budgetarily they're maybe stuck a little bit. What are some things that you give them or advise them to do, in those types of situations where maybe they can't pick up and move, or maybe they're just unwilling to pick up and move? But are there stopgaps that you recommend, or are there certain nutrients? Are there certain treatments or protocols that you would have them do as a stopgap until they kind of make their mind up one way or the other.
Yeah, and believe me, just like you, we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on our personal, experiences, trying to avoid mold and or bacteria. I've got countless stories about whether it's hotels, vacation rentals, getting rid of clothing, getting rid of cars. So yes, so we're coming from, and again, as I say this right now, with God as my witness, we live in a vinyl tent in Sandpoint, Idaho. We're going to make it south. We're going to continue to live in vinyl. We often change out the vinyl tents and the mattresses and all those things that we do. Okay, so what can we do if we still live in water damage? Well, I think that, really it's kind of twofold. Really threefold. Clean out the air the best that you can, air purification systems and things like that. But then support your body to the best that you can with the right food, the sunshine, the sleep, the physical activity, movement, chiropractic care, taking care of your teeth. All those basic tenets are undoubtedly going to help you combat the onslaught from these other environmental toxins. And then I think the binder aspect of, can we bind up some of these toxins so we don't reabsorb them, we poop them out the other side? So binders, I think, could be very beneficial here. Humic acid, fulvic acid, the bentonite clays, the charcoals, the organic psyllium husks. All these things have pluses and minuses to them. Sauna is a great way. Sweating is a fantastic way to get rid of these mold mycotoxins. These are proven to be in sweat. Again, the data is still young on this, but it also makes common sense. So that'll be another factor. And I think also, that, again, just going back to the food story, we're really big into eating seafood, wild salmon, sardines, anchovies. We're big fans of wild salmon roe, so eating the fish eggs, all the nutrients that's in that. A lot of the mold mycotoxins cause such excess oxidative stress. So how do we repair the oxidative stress? Fix those cell membranes and things like that. And I think that's where the seafood really comes in like a superstar. The other is organ-based products. We sell a product which are unvaccinated bison organs from South Dakota, liver, heart, kidney, which are fantastic in that arena. And then, really just trying to, if your gut microbiome is being destroyed, how do you keep your gut microbiome healthy? And I think it's really all those similar tenets that we talk about where, give your body what it needs, take away what it doesn't, and that's going to be the strategy.
Yeah. Do you ever see people get better if they're still in it? Like how much does all that kind of thing move the needle for people in your experience?
I think for a lot of people, it undoubtedly improves them. I know you'll agree with this too, that we get concerned about all these other environmental toxins, and another big player is EMF, and a lot of people become extremely EMF sensitive, especially when they're living in the mold. And then as they maybe do some of these other strategies, they deal with things better. But I don't think anybody really improves 100%, Peter, until they're out of the mold. And candidly, again, it could take a long time. Some people recover very quickly. Some people, there's such extensive damage from living a whole life in mold. I think back to, my father, I've told this story on your stage before at your event about my dying, but they give him the label of PSP, and simultaneously, serendipitously, God, intervened, put this young woman in front of my face, and she's a doctor of chiropractic, and she told me all the reasons why my father was sick and dying. And one thing we didn't really talk about a lot back then, Peter, in 2005, was the mold issue. And my father was born into mold. My father, like anybody was, my father lived in mold throughout his entire life. The house that we lived in the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois, I remember it flooded twice. It was a beautiful home. My father was a very successful cardiologist. We lived in a beautiful home that flooded twice. And maybe once they tore up the carpet or whatever they did, there was no mention whatsoever of mold related to that. But as I think about it now, right, you know, the must smell, the must is mold. And the impact of that, you know, with my father, the story that generated, you know, with that, and then also, you know, as the mold and the bacteria digest the components of the home, that releases all the different VOCs, the volatile organic compounds or chemicals that we breathe in that generates the smell. We're not smelling the mycotoxins, but we're smelling the VOCs, and that's a whole nother, yeah, spectrum of really understanding. If your house smells, I mean, it's you know, one final thing too, Peter. We went into we were down in Costa Rica, and we were up in the mountains, and we walked into this house considering it for as an Airbnb. And my wife, again, like, didn't even want to go in the house. I'm like, come on, let's go and let's just take a look. We need somewhere to live, you know, down here, you know, temporarily. And we go into the house, and it smelled like curry. It smelled like somebody was cooking a whole bunch of Indian food in the house. And the person who was showing this the house said, no one has been in the house for 6 weeks, and it smelled like curry, you know? So it's like all those different smells, you know, that are coming out, and it's just the mold and the bacteria that are digesting the home, that are releasing the VOCs. And it's really monumental. And I so appreciate you allowing me to share some of my stories and all this stuff for the listeners, because if you're sick, in any way of anything, symptoms or not, any kind of, you know, people talk about family history, you know, well, your family members lived in mold, and so do you, and you're sick because of it.